Here we go. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The aim of the course is not to teach the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to your awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of fear of love is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposites. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So, welcome back, you guys. I am so sorry. I do apologize for all the mix up. If it was on my part, or whatever part it was, I suppose everything is in divine order. I've been proclaiming divine order for the longest, and I know that only divine order exists because there is no order but God's order. There is no love but God's love. And so as I stay in that mindset, it kind of makes everything okay. It's that peace. I get to have that peace in whatever situation it is because all is well, all is okay. So it's interesting. I wanted to talk to you guys about so many different things. And so I'm going to kind of like put it in high gear. I'm always in high gear though. I'm going to kind of step on the pedal, put the pedal to the metal because there's a lot of stuff that I think I want to share before I get out of here. But at the same time, I also want to be conscious that spirit may have me go in a totally different direction, whatever that may be. So here we go. This past weekend, my dad went back into the hospital on Wednesday, last Wednesday, when I canceled and said I couldn't be here. He went back into the hospital, and on that particular Wednesday, I met this lovely young lady. The hospital that he's in, I love it. Unlike some of the other hospitals that we've been to, this particular hospital has this core of volunteers that is just absolutely wonderful. So not only do they have an extensive ministerial team, at least one person per floor that goes around and visits every single room, every single patient and their family, and they do this daily. They also have a core of volunteers that come around and they visit families too. And what I find amusing is that no matter who comes into your room, no matter what you believe or don't believe, they've got something that they want to talk about or that they're going to talk to you about. So this particular Wednesday, when we were in the ER, we always go into the ER first. It seems like that's the way that they admit you into the hospital, straight through the ER. I go into the ER, and usually there are two particular clergy people um, that make their rounds within the ER, and they come walking in, and they've got a sheet that's got everybody's name listed on there, and they come in and they talk to you. Well, on this particular day, Wednesday, it was early. I went up, and I was, as my dad laid there on this little bed, the gurney or whatever it is, he's laying on the bed. He's unconscious because he has another infection. And so so as I sat there watching him, I looked down at his feet, and I go over and I take off his socks, and I think, okay, I'm going to work on my dad's feet, which is, I do that a lot, especially when I don't have anything else really that I'm planning on doing. I work on his feet. So I take off the socks, and I remember as a child, I used to hate when he wanted me to cut his toenails, or if he wanted me to do something. Oh, it was gross. And but it seems so ironic that as an adult, it's almost as if he's laying here. I'm either going to do his nails or do his toes, or do something. So I get down, and I've got this little stool that I roll over. It's one of the stools that the phlebotomists use. Is that what you call them when they take your blood? The vampires. They use those stools. And so they kind of go down, and it's a low stool. And so I, sat on the stool, and I'm sitting there, and, I had started, not only like washing my dad's feet, but then it's like massaging him with lotion. And I do all this stuff to his feet. So while I'm doing his foot, there is a woman that comes into the room, one of the volunteers, and her name was Vanessa. And she comes into the room, and she said, and, like they always do, they don't say, is this your husband, or, or anything. They just say, and this is Herman Bishop. And I was like, yep, it's Herman Bishop. And she was like, and you are, I'm like, I'm his daughter. I just wanted to volunteer that information. It's always so funny when people assume that I'm his wife. And so, we started this conversation because she thought it was so wonderful that his daughter was there taking care of him. And, she was so thrilled. And she talked about her relationship with her parents and her mother in particular, and, her whole life stuff. And so we talked, and she must have talked to me about 10 minutes before I asked her how she started volunteering there. And so, as she shared with me her story about her volunteering, she ended up marrying a man who didn't allow his wives or his wife, whoever that may be, he did not allow his wife to work. And so, but he did say that she could volunteer. And so she said that it was so wonderful that, after being married for a year, she finally came up with this, devised a plan. And she asked him if, since she couldn't work, and she said he made plenty money, more than enough, more than, um, and so she said that she was tired of just shopping and watching television because their kids, both of their kids, were out of the house. So she said, she asked if she could volunteer. And so she said that the one day of week that she could volunteer was on a Wednesday. And so she said that she prepared almost all week for her Wednesday volunteer thing. So she says, I do my hair, I do my nails, I make up these gift baskets. She collects books to give to people. She gets toys to give to kids if they're in there, and activities and things like that. And she just talked about how wonderful it was. And it was so interesting because after we finished this whole like 20-minute exchange, I felt like, okay, there's got to be something that I could then give to her, because it was just so much that was going on between us, the sharing and the love and all that other stuff, and recognizing the oneness in that moment, not just of her and I, but also the fact that wherever two or more people are gathered, there's a mystical third. And so even though my dad was laying there unconscious, and her and I had this exchange, I was feeling as though, how they say that the cost of giving is receiving. And so it becomes this thing of wanting to participate on a whole nother level in the exchange. But I think that for both of us, we recognize that we come together to not only bless but be a blessing. And so I have been singing the praise of Vanessa ever since I met her the other day, and just thought it was just awesome that I can share. And she actually gave me a couple of books too in the process. And so I've met at this particular hospital so many different people, and so many different people sharing perspectives. It reminded me um it reminded me a bit of Star Trek. And you guys may or may not know that I'm a Trekkie. I am a Trekkie. I used to love watching Star Trek. And Star Trek was always filled with so many different um, little stories, within an hour, it was as if they dealt with issues that kind of spanned. Uh, and helped us in our understanding, not only only of our connectedness to one another, but on a universal level, how much bigger all this is than just you and I. And so I don't know if you guys remember, uh, it brought to mind this when I was talking to a some young folks the other day. It brought to mind this idea of Star Trek and how all of us are on a particular journey. Now, when the Course talks about this, yeah, it says that all of this stuff that we are here, you know, that we're experiencing. I've been watching episodes of great. Yeah, I love the Next Generation, I think it's a wonderful thing. But all of these things that we're learning here kind of shows us a better perspective of ourselves. And one of the things that the Course said to me, and it says to all of us at some time, it's like, you know, it's going to, God is not going to impose or violate our own will. It's our will as we go along this course, as we walk this journey, we are going to get according to our own level of understanding, we're going to be able to pace ourselves accordingly. I'm trying to figure out how it was that I was going to explain all this stuff to you, and I know you guys know this, but it's as if until you make a decision to turn for the atonement or for love or whatever it is, until you make that decision, God respects your position and your decision because you are given free will. And for you to have that free will violated is against all of what we have learned about God, about Jesus, and these teachings here. But yet, and still, it seems as though so many of us don't extend that same free will to other folks. You know, I'm always thinking that folks are always saying, oh, you know what, I wouldn't do it that way if I was you. As a matter of fact, I have people that often come up to me and tell me how things should be done. I know I may have control issues, but so many other folks have control issues too. And in the Star Trek series, there was this thing called the Prime Directive. You know, the Prime Directive. The Prime Directive is it says something like, if a culture, we're going to respect you where you are, wherever you are in your own development. So when, say, for instance, Captain Janeway or a Jean-Luc Picard being down onto another planet, if they didn't have something like a transporter, they weren't going to then give, oh, Sandra, not that way. No, no, not that way. Um, so yeah, so the prime directive was is that they weren't going to give you technology that you may not have been open to or have access to in the first place. Um, so it was amazing to me how even when they went into other countries and they were trying to, or other planets, and they were trying to negotiate for stuff. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember the episode, because it was Deep Space Nine, I do believe, where they introduced Velcro, and they were trying to do something that was non-scientific, but yet had value to the culture. And so they showed them Velcro and how the Velcro could be opened and closed and seal things and everything like that. And so it became this thing of operating up under the prime directive. But what happens is that so many of us violate others and where they are on a spiritual level because we know better. I mean, you know what I mean. So we are always trying to redirect people, telling them what they should do, what they ought to do, what they could do, and telling them and trying to fear people into seeing things our way. If you don't get saved today, your life may end during the middle of the night. And so then what will you be and where will you be and all this stuff? We have used fear over and over again. But now the course tells us so clearly, and this is one of the things I meant to, to open up and get some of the little thing out of here, some of the little quotes out of here, so I can quote it for you, because I just don't do that all the time. But it says to us so clearly that we are to honor our brothers just like we expect that honor to be placed upon us. And so so whatever it becomes your mission, my mission, to whoever is saner at the moment, to call on the Holy Spirit and ask for the correction. So today, as I was talking, I go through this thing and I'm talking and I'm thinking to myself, let me just talk not about what I think somebody ought to do, but about the sweetness of having a prayerful life, the sweetness of saying, you know what, I don't know. I don't know what this is supposed to be, how it's supposed to turn out, what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. I need to give up the idea that I know better, that I know how it ought to be done, and simply share from a place that says, you know what, I really don't know how it's supposed to go. But this is what's possible. So, as I was talking to a friend of mine's just yesterday, I don't know how we're supposed to grow from this. All of us are on paths. All of us are walking a journey. All of us are going towards something. And I like to think that it's our growth, our higher good, and eventually to the atonement. But if they're not understanding it from that perspective, that's fine. And so I was sitting there and I was saying, you know what? Hey, I'm not trying to shove you down a particular path. I'm not even trying to get you to see a particular way. What I want to present to you is simply, my conversation and what I found to be true. I don't come on here trying to convince anybody of anything. That's not my role. But my role is to share my experience from where I am, yeah, without having an agenda for it. So if I come on here and wherever I go and I just start talking without having some kind of preconceived notion about what you want to believe, then I think that I'm in alignment where I desire to be. Love to me means that I love you as you are, not as I think you ought to be, but simply as you are. And so if I love you as you are, I don't have a need to kind of control you or to tell you what to think or how to be or where to be or think that, what none of that stuff if I'm loving you. None of that stuff comes into play. I think I shared before because I love Eric Fromm and his book on love. Instead of me trying to call the title of it right offhand. But one of the things that he says is most people, we're trying to love ourselves through somebody else. And so it becomes this thing of, if you love me, then maybe I can love me by you loving me. And if you think I'm acceptable, then maybe I'll think I'm acceptable. And so we're trying to get something out of something that wasn't there in the first place. And it becomes necessary that we learn how to love self. Love thy neighbor as thyself. We need to learn how to love self and not what we try to do. That's what a special relationship, it seems like to me, is this trying to get something from somebody else when we haven't even given it to ourselves. We haven't given ourselves this unconditional love. And so we go around trying to get, gimme, 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 instead of just finding out our own truth. So the Prime Directive states that non-interference in a person's development, and for them to be okay wherever they are, however they are. And until we learn how to love people just as they are, we're really not loving. If a person needs to be only the way that you think they ought to be, then that's not really loving them. That's really loving your own ideas about them that probably have absolutely nothing to do with them. So, it's not me trying to impose my will on somebody. And you know what? Believe it or not, it's amazing to me. People are constantly saying that, you know what? I can feel you. I can feel you. I can feel your control. My brother, I love bless his heart. My brother is like that. He always thinks that I'm sitting up judging him. And I don't even have to say anything. And truth be told, people can feel you and what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you're doing. They can feel it. But now here's the other thing. Is a lot of times that people can make up stuff in their own mind too and then project. You remember projection? Constantly projecting onto somebody else the very thing that they're thinking in their minds, thinking that they know what I'm thinking. And they don't necessarily know what I'm thinking because I'm in a place where I feel like I'm loving you and I'm accepting you just as you are. But he's sitting there and he's saying, oh, but you're judging me. And I'm thinking, I'm not judging you. I haven't said a word. And even in my spirit, I'm still not saying a word because it's, yeah, that's what you want to do. Do it. Now, but on the other hand, I also understand that when I'm withholding something from someone as well. Like a lot of times we don't, of course, not judging. We're not judging, but sometimes we're withholding. And when I'm saying withholding, sometimes it's my approval that I'm withholding. It's not that I'm trying to tell you how you need to live it. I'm not trying to tell you how you need to do it. I haven't said a word, but you can also sense where I'm blocked because since I'm a person that's always radiating love and energy, if all of a sudden you come into my realm and you don't feel that same radiation coming towards you that you may see from with everything else I do, you know that my energy has changed, even if my mouth, even if the words say haven't changed. And so since all minds are joined, then people feel things that you may not ever say out of your lips. They can feel them. And so I can sit there and I can say, seriously, I wasn't judging him. I wasn't judging any of that stuff. But you know what? I was sitting up there thinking to myself, like, well, now how is that? How is that? Because I'm real funny. I could be real funny. Um, yeah, your ex-wife always knew what you were thinking, and then you say not, huh? So so but we also can feel the blocks, removing the blocks to your awareness of love presence. So you may not be thinking it, but it could be just because you haven't verbalized it, it could be something in the energy that says something different. And he's not worthy of my approval or my valid. And you know what? And the funny thing is that a lot of times it's about far less than approval or validation. It's about the little things. So, say for instance, the other day, I see my brother, and I love my brother. Don't get me wrong, I love my brother, but I also love my brother's cooking. And I had asked, as we had all asked several times, like, hey, we wanted to grill, and my brother is just the grill master. Just, I don't even know what he does with this stuff, but it's just like, oh my God, it's so good. And so all summer, we were just like saying, hey, hello. So all summer long, we were just asking him to grill, and so he wasn't receptive to it. It was always he had something to do. He was always busy, 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 And so the other day when I go by his house, he's actually got company out there. He's got the grill going and he's got all this food. And I just went by just on a fluke. I went by just accidentally. And here he is cooking. Now, you guys, I know he has the right. It's his house. Those are his friends. It's his grill. He has every right to have a cookout and not invite his sister. I just every right. But of course, when I got there, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, well, I would have even brought my own food. I wasn't asking for free food. But in my energy, I know my energy said to him and to whoever was around, well, Dak, the master chef of the grill can have a cookout, can make food and not invite his own sister. And so while I didn't say anything, as a matter of fact, I would have been too embarrassed to say anything in front of all these folks. But while I didn't say anything, I'm sure that my energy said everything because I'm standing there and I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, can I get a bite? Can I get a crumb? Can I get something? And so and so I didn't have to say a word. I didn't have to, do anything. I didn't even have to make a facial expression. It becomes this thing of all minds are joined, yeah, telling body language. And even when we know that we haven't done anything on a physical level to change our stance or anything like that, the energy from me is now suddenly changed because I am feeling offended to some extent. Like feeling offended because I didn't get an invite to the barbecue. And so it was not me necessarily thinking that I needed to tell him how he needed to be. The prime directive says non interference, right? The prime directive says that I'm not going to sit there and get mad or upset because, of course, you're never upset, never mad for the reasons that you think you are. It's, hey, Pete, it's this, yeah, feed me. Feed me. I've been waiting all summer. I haven't. And when I told my sister about it, you guys, I mean, see, you guys are not feeling me. My brother can grill. My brother is just so good at grilling. And I don't even know, he when he does his ribs, he soaks them in, in this apple cider and all this other stuff. And so by the time you finally get it in your mouth, you know how most of you guys have to chew up ribs? This stuff just melts in your mouth and it's so good. And so we had been talking all summer about us not having anything where we had any, none of this stuff, none of the goodness. And so then to go over and see him sitting up with his friends and cooking ribs, I was truly hurt. I was truly hurt. And so I really, no teeth needed. You could just, I mean, it just, oh, it's just so good. And so, after I stood there, it's like he said to me, well, Sam, if you want to play? And I'm thinking like, yes, you finally asked. But I was just like this close to having missed that. And so I was so happy that I was able to get some. And however it occurred that you know what? And here it is. Here's the wonderful thing. Because like I said, I just stopped by accident. And so the wonderful thing is knowing that Spirit probably had me go over there, actually absolutely did, where I had no intention of going over in the first place. Spirit had me go by just in the nick of time so that I can get what I got, because there was an energy that was also going out saying I wanted some of my brother's cooking this year, and I hadn't had any, and so now I get a chance to partake, and it's so wonderful, and it was so good. So guys say no grill and summer beer, and you believe him too. Okay, so so I got a chance to have some. And so everything, all it worked out, it worked all together. But there was this thing about my checking myself, my checking my own personal energy, and seeing that I didn't need to, like, impose my will on somebody else. I didn't need to go in there and say, how are you going to have a barbecue and not invite me? Or, I offered to bring meat. I offered to do this. I even offered to pay you. We offered to pay you to cook some stuff for us, and then you didn't do it. But yet I didn't need to go in there and say all of that stuff. All I needed to do was show up, and I withheld any malice, any thoughts. I just kind of held back, and I knew he knew that I wanted some, and when he offered me the plate, I was just like, oh gosh, thank you so much. you know just thank you so much. And so um and so it becomes this thing of really getting clear. I think that for all of us, we need to get clear on what it is that we think and what it is that we believe. And when we stand in our own truth, when we stand in this awareness about, and getting clear about our own feelings and our own emotions, then that can be communicated and can be shared with other folks. So what I felt from the woman at the hospital was the love that she intended there, was just the unconditional sharing that she came to offer me. What I understood is that a lot of times what we need to do is to practice that there is no love but God's love. And if I think that I can withhold love, then I've sadly been mistaken. It doesn't belong to me. So therefore I can't withhold it from you. And so all I can do is be a open channel through which it flows. And so when I do that, when I get out of my own way, because I'm never mad, right? When I get mad, I'm never mad for the reasons that I think I am. So when I get out of my own way and simply allow Spirit to do what Spirit does, it puts me in the right place at the right time to see the people that I need to see, to get the barbecue and to be in barbecue heaven like I need to be. And so whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be, I can get out there and just allow myself to be part of this process, part of the flow. So I don't suffer from anything. I don't have any needs that aren't met. And so, it becomes this thing of, as I come into the awareness of this unconditional love that God has, not just for me, but for you too, for all of us. As I come into that awareness, then I don't need to look at this thing like the universe or any person within it is withholding from me. I stay in an attitude of gratitude to say thank you for whatever comes my way. When I hold a place of gratitude, then I get things and I see things that I may never have seen before, or that I may not have even been aware of. I make room for that miracle to occur. That miracle, which is a shift in perception from where I was thinking that I was a victim because I didn't get a piece of barbecue, to understanding that God so loved me that he put me in the right place at the right time. that I could get exactly what I wanted without trying to, pitch a tantrum, without being a brat about it, without like poking my lip out and sulking and saying what I didn't get. I got exactly what I was supposed to have and what I desired. And it was a perfect end to a perfect day because I got what I wanted. And for all of us, the universe is always saying yes to what it is you desire. So when you get clear, and I tell people this all the time because I think we forget about the power of prayer. And by prayer, I mean just communing, being open with spirit. And sometimes it's just talking. The Holy Spirit is present right where you are, as close to you as your own very breath. God, that's God. I mean, just answering and saying yes to whatever it is. So if you have thoughts, if your thoughts are saying that you're a victim of the world you see, then you know what? You will get an agreement. And and you'll be shown exactly what you believe is there. But the moment you realize that you're really not a victim, and you recognize that all of it is there for your good and for your growth, then you can say yes. You can say thank you. You can stop seeing yourself as a victim. You could stop thinking that somebody's withholding and see the love that is meant to be there always. Because remember, this is all about removing the blocks to our awareness of love's presence. The truth, the only truth is love is all there is. Love, 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 love. So when you think about that, everything is love. The divine givingness of spirit, your life is love. All of it's love. What you put up in front of that to make you think it's something else is the blocks. And it's all about just getting these blocks out of the way. So you guys, I plan on being here again on Wednesdays. My time is up. And I'll be right where I'm supposed to be. Everything is in divine order. So my time is up. So I've got to go. And yeah, Paul is going to be your mic. Hey, is he here? Paul. Hey, Paul. Yeah, there he is. I see him. Okay, so it's good to see all of you. Love you, and I will see you on Wednesday from 7 to 8. And in the meantime, just yeah, that's it. So sandrasaid.com, at Sam Bishop on Twitter, and on Facebook it is Sandra D Bishop or Sandra Thrives. Love you. See you. Bye. Oh, and hey, Dan. Did I forget about that? Okay, I forgot all about I was on Ustream as well. So um I appreciate you being here. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching. And I know that was all over the board. And I apologize if you were here from the very beginning when we were having mic technical difficulties on this end and not necessarily on yours. I do this over Pal Talk as well as you here on Ustream. So I'll be back on Wednesday. So tune in on Wednesday where I've got something else I'll be talking about. And I'll get all this stuff together so that I can give out some spiritual principles as well as do my talk. So I'll see you then.